Hello, my name is Amanda Maxim. I'm a writer and a research associate here at the Ayn Rand Institute, and I'm sitting down with Peter Schwartz to discuss his new book, In Defense of Selfishness, Why the Code of Self-Sacrifice is Unjust and Destructive. Thank you, Peter, for writing the book, and thanks for being here.
Believe me, it was my pleasure.
So I have a couple questions for you about what you say in the book. One of the things that you talk about is this concept of selfishness. I mean, you start the book with the line, "Yes, I'm defending selfishness." And that seems radical, but you also make the point that what most people think of as selfishness is not really selfishness. Can you explain that?
Sure. Selfishness is a terrible word to most people, and they associate it generally with some amoral predator, somebody like a scoundrel, a cheat like Bernie Madoff, or a vicious killer like Attila the Hun. People who pursue their desires by victimizing others. That's people's idea of selfishness. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very mistaken. I think it ignores the essence of selfish behavior, which is somebody who pursues his self-interest, not by sucking the blood of other people, but by being honest, productive, self-responsible, by dealing with other people through offering value for value to mutual benefit rather than by expropriating what somebody else has produced.
So you talk about Bernie Madoff as a person who might, in most people's minds, epitomize someone who's selfish. So who do you think of as epitomizing a selfish person?
Well, the real selfish person would be people like Thomas Edison, who, by pursuing his own selfish interests, got very rich and, as a side effect, benefited the world. People like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Anybody who makes a success of his life by honestly producing the goods and the values that his life requires and dealing with others by trade, those are people who are genuinely selfish.
And so that doesn't shore up, is what you're saying, with the common view?
No, the common view is, as I say, is that you have to be a victimizer. The common view is that there's only two choices. Either you be altruistic and sacrifice yourself to others, or you be, quote, selfish and sacrifice others to yourself. The true alternative, which is neither sacrificing others to yourself nor yourself to others, is just ignored. The advocates of altruism want us to think there is no such classification. They want us to think either you're a predator or you're a Mother Teresa sacrificing for others.
So I hear you saying that you're coming out against altruism, and I think most people have a view of altruism that it's benevolence, it's goodwill towards others, helping the old lady across the street, and you're saying that that's also a mistaken view?
Yes, that names only a small part of altruism, and in fact, altruism does not ultimately result in benevolent attitude, benevolent behavior from one person to another. Because look at what altruism demands of you. It really says you should subordinate yourself to others. It says any decision you confront, the needs of other people must take precedence over yours. Doing something to benefit others is supposed to be morally virtuous. Doing something to benefit yourself is supposed to be morally tainted. So the idea is, if you want to be moral, if you want to be a good person, according to altruism, the way to do it is by serving others. It's by being a servant to their needs. And that, I think, is a very vicious idea. It's a very harmful, destructive idea to say that you're not entitled to live for your own sake, that your life doesn't belong to you, it belongs to anybody with a need who can then make a moral claim on your energies.
So I think that's going to strike a lot of people as discordant to what they, like you said, to what their conventional view of what morality is. But the example that comes to my mind is, what about parents that have kids and they, people say that they sacrifice for their children to give them a better life. Maybe they scrimp and save in order to put the child through college. And you're saying that that's not altruism?
That's a very misleading use of the idea of sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving up something that's of value to you for the sake of something that is not of value to you. Now, if you're a parent and you have children, you do so voluntarily. It's an obligation you undertake. You know they can't take care of their own lives until they grow up. So you voluntarily assume that responsibility, and you do it because they're your children and they're of great value to you. Here's what would be a sacrifice. A sacrifice would be, instead of feeding your children, allowing them to starve because children somewhere in Bangladesh are hungry and you're sending your money there. That would be a sacrifice. But to call the relationship a parent has to his own child a sacrifice is a corruption of the idea of sacrifice. It's your child. It's your selfish value. It's not some stranger that you're sacrificing your child to.
So you're saying that there's 3 words that you talk about in the book that you say it's really important to get right. So you have selfishness, altruism, and sacrifice.
Yes.
But taking a step back, why is it so important that we get these concepts right? I mean, you talk about that if you really want to have a good life, that you actually need to be selfish. Can you explain that?
Well, sure. You know, you have only the one life, and that's yours, and it should be precious to you. You should try to improve it. You should try to pursue your own happiness. You should try to make your life as good as it can be. Altruism says whatever you pursue, whatever values you happen to achieve, whatever success you manage to attain, you should surrender it for the sake of someone who hasn't attained it. Anyone who lacks something you have, altruism says, sacrifice for him. You have a moral duty to provide for his needs. Now what does that say about your life? It says your life is nothing. Your life is meaningless. Give it up for the sake of any non-you. And that's, I think, a very vicious doctrine and a very destructive one.
So what is the justification for altruism? I mean, so many people think that it's the right way. Why do they believe that?
Well, that's a very good question. And there's a very easy refutation of the whole doctrine of altruism. And it can be done in one word, and the word is why. If you ask what rational basis is there for considering a person as a sacrificial animal, what reason is there to say that you have no right, no moral right to your own life, your own happiness, your own goals, your own values? Rather, you must give them up because you have a duty to provide for the needs of others. What validation could there be for that? None. And none has ever been offered. The only reason that altruism is so widespread today is because it distorts the meaning of the alternative. It thinks the only alternative to altruism is, as I said, this vicious victimizer, this predator like Attila the Hun. So they say the only alternative is to be an altruist, to sacrifice. But those two are false alternatives, and if you understand what the proper alternative to altruism is, you'll see there is no reason. There is no reason on earth for one man to be the moral servant of another.
So you've written this book called In Defense of Selfishness. If somebody asked you, why should I be selfish? Because it occurs to me that you're making an argument, or you're telling people this is a different way in the way that you should live your lives. What would you tell them?
Well,
why be selfish?
Well, to ask why be selfish is the same question as asking why should I live? Now, you're alive, you don't have to live, but if you do choose to live, the only life you can live is your own. And as I said, it's something very valuable. It should be valuable to you, and you should want to make the most of it. Why not take your life, pursue your happiness, make yourself successful in pursuing the goals that you think are worthwhile, and the result is that your life is worthwhile. Your life is filled with a sense of achievement, and you have self-esteem, and you think, well, I've done something with my life, as against the idea that my life is unimportant. All that matters is how much I can serve other people. All that matters is what can I give up for the sake of someone who doesn't have what I managed to achieve. Now that's, I think, a real perversion of human life. Human life is supposed to be lived and enjoyed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.